mentally or physically, success could be defined as getting up one more time after you've been knocked down over and over and over again. I'm T. Wood, and this is Triumph Moments, where I highlight significant moments in life that are far beyond the surface to inform, encourage, and inspire people to triumph over their life's challenges. With me today is a good brother. I understand I don't really need to introduce him, but I'm gonna do it anyway. All right, with me today is Steve Chester from out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. He is a graduate, a proud graduate of Morehouse College and University of Southern California. He spent several years in corporate America as an accountant before he branched out as an entrepreneur in the tourism industry. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you for coming to the show. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Now, I want to go ahead and just kind of jump right into it, all right? Well, first, what does a normal day with you and the family look like? Just Monday through Friday. What time you wake up? What does a regular day look like for you?
Early starts. I got two little ones, 8 and 4.
Okay.
So breakfast with them. I would say I'm the cook of the family, so any meals that are being taken place in the household comes through these hands.
That's dope.
So we get up, we listen to music while I cook breakfast every morning. My wife actually is working West Coast time, so she stays in bed a little bit longer so she can kind of get ready for her work day, get the kids to school, and then typically I'll answer some emails, and then I'm heading downtown, see what the vibe is like, see who's walking around the city, see what restaurants might have any issues for the day, what attractions may be closed for the day, and then I'm back at home for lunch, get the lunch prepared for the little ones, back down to the office in the afternoon, kind of seeing how everything's going with the team, making sure that all the tours went well for the day, kind of have a little quick recap with the team, and back home to cook dinner.
Okay, so that thing starts, that's pretty much how I roll. It starts right back over.
Starts right back over.
Okay. Well, let's highlight this here. Now, your father was a pastor in the American Methodist Episcopal Church. What was your family life like growing up? You know, father was a pastor.
Yeah.
How was that?
Looking back on it, it was great.
Okay.
So my dad was a minister. My mother worked in education, but on the administrative side of it. So my dad, being kind of an entrepreneur himself, kind of the head of the church, he had the flexibility. So if there's anything that I needed, if I needed a parent to be at a parent-teacher conference, if I needed somebody to come for school activities, if we needed chaperones, it was my dad. So we had a very tight connection growing up. And as a minister, every so often we have to move from city to city. He's easy to pick up and go because it's his job to move. My mom had to stay back. So I was born in Minnesota, went to Detroit, then Kalamazoo. Just kind of give you an idea that each time my dad went ahead, I went with my dad. And so we had a lot of bonding time. So I wasn't a mama's boy. I was really my daddy's kid. So wherever we went, we had that connection. But my mother was the breadwinner. She made more money than my father, so she kind of put the food on the table. She did what she needed to do, but it was a very unique situation from that standpoint, kind of compared to everybody else that I was around. But it was a loving family. I was the only child, so his church family became my extended family, so everybody looked after me. I could do no wrong, which was a good thing, you know.
Let's see.
But looking back on it, I wouldn't change anything, you know.
I tell you what, and see, you know, as a child, you actually had the opportunity you absolutely strike me as a gentleman who pays attention to detail, especially in the industry that you're in as a business owner. And so growing up, do you feel mother being the breadwinner, do you feel that might have affected the relationship as far as with mother and father? Did you just constantly still see that love and that didn't really mess with anything? And your thoughts?
In hindsight, it definitely did.
Okay.
It definitely did. There's just personality differences and things that come along, and it was a different era, so kind of head of household still would have been my father if you look from the outside looking in, even though my mother made the money, but he was still considered the head of household. She still continued to look at him in that regard. His church community still looked at him in that regard. I looked at him in that same capacity as well. But now as you get older and you look back on their relationship, it was more of a business. He was the head of the church. She was the first lady of the church. So, that was kind of what they presented, and I think that overshadowed their true familial and kind of marriage relationship.
Right.
So a lot of things that we did, we never took family trips, we only took church trips.
See, that's what the next question was. How did that dictate, actual involvement of family outings, of doing things together? Was everything dictated, pretty much church had a function? That's pretty much what the outing time was, Was anything, did you ever get to experience things outside of that growing up?
When we lived in Detroit, my dad's family was there, so I was always connected to family. When we moved to Kalamazoo, I was a little bit more disconnected from the family, so it really did focus around a lot of the church events. But my dad went to college, my mother did not, so one of her biggest things was to give me access to things that she didn't have growing up. So I was a part of Jack and Jill, I was a part of Inroads, so those really two components kind of helped bring that professional side of kind of what I became later on in life.
Right.
That was all geared from my mom and her want of me to have those opportunities and have that exposure. My dad being a man of the people,
right.
He's that customer service, that I love everyone, I'll talk to anyone. He gave me that side of it. So, the travels, the things that we did were predicated on both of their previous experiences and what they wanted for me, but it all meshed together pretty well.
See, so let's take a look at it. Michigan jumped to Georgia. What made you jump? Well, what made you attend Morehouse? The Morehouse College.
The Morehouse College. Junior year, we took a black college tour. So all of our students got together, families put us on a big bus. We went on a road trip. We hit Fisk, we hit Tennessee State, we came down to Morehouse. And my dad went to Morris Brown, so I already had a connection to Atlanta via him. But as a kid, you want to kind of go outside and the opposite of what you does. So I was anti coming to Morris Brown, anti everything, until I set foot on campus.
Which was more to have your own, not just that you didn't like it, but more to just kind of create your own.
Yeah, my own identity.
Thank you.
So as soon as I got here and I saw black excellence everywhere, you saw Spelman, you saw Clark, you saw Morehouse, you walk a little bit and you got Morris Brown. Out of all the black colleges, out of all the things that I had seen, there was nothing like that ever in my life that I had experienced. And everybody else kind of went off, played basketball or football back in Michigan. I decided to kind of break away, come to Morehouse, and lucky for me, got a couple scholarships, which allowed me to come to an institution whose year-to-year tuition was not like any state school. So that's kind of what got me here.
Well, okay. Now we're mentioning that jump. But then there was another jump. So from Georgia to USC, so we're talking to California.
Correct, the real USC.
Ooh.
Yes.
We can relate with that. All right, but yeah, so what made you, now you could have went anywhere, but you chose USC. What was the motivation behind that?
So while I was at Morehouse, I studied accounting, and if you're going to kind of continue that accounting realm, you want to sit for your CPA exam, you have to have so many collegiate credits for you to sit for that. And coming out of Morehouse, it's a college, it's not a university, so I only had 120 of the 150 required hours. Luckily for me, a lot of the big four firms at that time were looking to become more diverse, have more minorities come in. And there was an opportunity for me to go to USC, and my company paid for it. So as long as I got hired by the firm, got into the school, everything was taken care of.
I'm sorry, y'all, but I have to step out and highlight that. Brother, you know how dope that is.
It is.
And you know how much I really, really have to highlight something like that, because even in the times and the eras, there are many things out there that could have pulled you to the left and pulled you to the right. Not to say you lived this perfect, astute life, you know what I'm saying? But the choices that you made and the things that you pursued to do, major shout out.
It is. And, it's one of those things that I always talk about, be present. The opportunity just came from me being in the right place at the right time. The lady missed a scheduled interview with somebody else and she needed to fill it, and I was right there for her to be able to say, hey, who are you talking to today? I already had my suit on, said nobody. She said, come and talk to me, give me a little bit about your background.
Just that catapult you into the area that you went into as far as now that was with finance now.
Yeah, accounting.
Accounting. So you, when we take a step back, because I can't let this just gloss over. In Morehouse, did you participate part of any organizations?
I did.
Okay.
So my first year, I walked on to the football team.
Okay.
That lasted very short, but it allowed me an opportunity to my junior year become a part of the best fraternity that is out there, which I would say is Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So shout out to the bros of A-Phi.
Y'all know T Wood is going, because how good of a guy this is, we're going to let that go. All right? But shout out to A-Phi. Shout out to them. Shout out to them. With that being said, any thing that pulled you to that direction of being a part of the organization and things of that sort, where there are people that, you know, accomplished some things or just mentored that might have made you interested in the organization?
Yeah, some high school teachers,
Okay.
Men from the Alpha chapter back in Kalamazoo that kind of mentored me as well.
Okay.
When I got to Morehouse, there was no Alpha chapter.
Wow.
However, again, the AUC was a very small knit community, so you would see the Alphas from Clark doing things, you would see the Alphas from Morris Brown doing things, and there was only one or two organizations that I would even put my eyes on, and they just seemed to kind of connect to what I was looking for. A lot of them were business majors and
Right.
wanted to become a business major, so that really attracted me to the organization, and by God's chance, I was on the campus when they kind of reemerged, and that first line back to Morehouse, I was blessed to be a part of that, which is unique. We had 25 individuals on our line.
Okay.
And so from a single child,
Right.
I now have 24 brothers
There you go.
that I could connect with from all various backgrounds, walks of life. So it was great just to be a part of that experience.
It's safe to say that there's something you still cherish to this day. I see sometimes when people get in an organization, kind of fades off a little bit, but is that something that you can honestly say that you really cherish still to this day, just the camaraderie that you had with those gentlemen?
Wholeheartedly.
Come on,
Yes.
come on. Ever in your life, did you have the opportunity to have anyone of any other fraternities that you might have been close with? Mega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Did you ever have any close friends that are part of any organization like that?
So he just decided to go the wrong way, but my college roommate was one of my best friends from Kalamazoo. He went Omega Psi Phi Morehouse side chapter. His dad was side chapter as well, and his dad was one of the individuals who was a mentor for me. He watched all of our basketball games growing up. His sons were in Jack and Jill as well, so he was really a big role model for me, and one of the reasons why I decided to go to Morehouse as well. So I can shout out to the Qs.
Oh man.
For having that reach back and pulling me along. So.
And it's vice versa, because in just saying that, I have some of my closest friends are members of Alpha, you know. So, but at the end of the day, we're part of the organizations that have a higher thing than bringing us together, people with like-minded ideas. You gotta love that.
Got you.
Gotta love that. You know, when we take a look at the jump from Georgia to USC now, I want to step back and look at that one more time. Is there any other schools that caught your interest, or was it just that you got locked into USC and said, okay, I'm not really entertaining any other institution, this is where I'm going?
So actually there were four schools. There was University of Illinois, University of Texas, Notre Dame, and University of Virginia. And USC was the other choice.
USC made the final cut. How?
By geographical distance. I was from the Midwest, so I had that experience. I came to the South, so kind of ruled out Texas. Never really felt much of the East Coast at that time. And I thought of going to a beach for free, being close to water for free. It really was one of those opportunities that
Can't beat it.
I wanted to have all of that, and I did have another college roommate from Oakland, so just kind of his vibe and the whole Cali feel and scene made me want to just go out there and experience the West Coast for a little bit, knowing that I would have to ultimately come back to Atlanta, so cost of living wasn't an issue.
Right.
All the things that people kind of say is the reason why they wouldn't live out there, that wasn't the factor. I was just out there for school and back to Atlanta, and just had a fantastic time.
You know what's interesting about that is that with all the things that you did up to that point and the things that you majored in, you know, there came a time where you had a change of plans. At what point in time did you realize, corporate America wasn't necessarily for you. You know, you make some switch ups here.
Yeah.
So how did that shift happen?
So initially started with a pivot from auditing into human resources when I was at PwC.
Okay.
I got into diversity recruiting. I had a passion for just the people and the connectivity while I was at PwC. So when this opportunity arose for me to get into diversity recruiting, getting young black kids an opportunity to start their career at a big four firm, jumped on that, but it was right when the recession hit. So technically, I lived in Atlanta, but my head count was in New York City.
Oh.
So as the recession hit, I could not transfer back from New York City into the Atlanta market, and I had to take a layoff.
Wow.
So
you could have gave up then and there. You could have just immediately went back home and, you know, pretty much called it a quits. What happened?
You got to look at every opportunity as an opportunity.
My man.
And I went from that, got into recruiting at a really big international staffing firm, but it just didn't move me the way that I thought it would be, trying to help people, but I was helping people in a time where there was no help to be given. No one was hiring, so it was giving people a false sense of hope about giving them a career, and that just didn't sit well with me. Hated waking up every day going into it. And long story short, an old co-worker from PwC, he and I had this concept that we talked about back in 2008 over a Super Bowl game. And I said, you know what? I really want to quit my job. If you're still open to it, if you want to help finance it, I'll get out there, supply the labor, and we could just see where it goes. And my wife now, but girlfriend at that time, I just went home and told her, hey, I'm thinking about this opportunity. Really want to see where it could go, but I would have to quit my job at some point. She was supportive, said okay, but she didn't realize it was going to be the next day that I was going to quit. So went in and put my resignation in the next day, and that is when we launched our company, which is known as ATL Cruzers here in Atlanta. It
is not easy. First off, we all know it's not easy to approach, you know, your significant other in your dream like that. Is it safe to say it was just an easy transition, or did you feel the support from her? And, you know, once you let her know that, hey, this is the direction I like to go, and, you know, I'm really believing in this. No.
She knew the wheels were turning. She heard me talk about it a lot. So I think that she knew that this was something that I wanted to do. So in order for me to be happy, she was okay with me at that time kind of just moving away, because I was not in a good space. And as you go back and you look on things and certain instances, when you reflect on it, you start to realize, man, that could have been a state of depression for me at this time, or just things that were going on. So it was a positive move for me to transition out of that opportunity into being a business owner, kind of navigating my own way. So she was very supportive, and still to this day is very supportive of all the different things. Every idea that we travel, there's a new concept that we come back with. So she's always, don't travel and take another tour. I'm tired of these new ideas, but she's still my right-hand lady.
Come on, man. Y'all better understand this. I mean, now looking at it, I want to make sure our viewers don't get it twisted. You sit here with a smile on your face, but you have faced some challenges in the development of your business. Could you give us an idea of some of the challenges that you faced during that time of, I mean, it didn't develop overnight.
It did not. That is true. So one of the biggest things, when you look into tourism, when you look into hospitality, there's the bigger umbrella of it. When you solely get into the channel of tourism and look at the makeup of it and those who look like you, it's a very small percentage of black-owned tour operators in America doing public tours for any and everybody. There may be some focused on black history, but a black person giving the general public a tour, there's not that much. So for the longest time, we never even presented ourselves as the business owners. You know, I don't know what it was, but there was something where we wanted the product and the service to stand for itself. And just, you know, hiding that we're the owners, it does something to you over time. When you can't really say that this brand is yours, when you can't publicly show that the ownership of what people are loving is something that you built from the ground up.
Come on.
You know, that takes a piece of it away from you. So I think for a long time, my business partner and I, we dealt with that, and it stifled us for a long time. and even this past season, 2020.
2020.
2020.
Wow.
So, it was on the news. There's nothing I even have to talk about. It was on the news all over the United States. What happened in Atlanta? What happened around the world? And our office is right in the heart of downtown Atlanta. We knew what was happening around the United States, so we had a notion that we should just put some black-owned business signs up in the windows. Hopefully that would deter anybody from coming by the office and doing anything. But probably about midnight, we got the call from the alarm system that somebody broke into the glass, and beeline straight down here, walk up, glass is smashed, people coming in and out of our home pretty much, just looking to take any and everything that they could.
That's your baby.
That's our baby. So a tough pill to swallow, but we sat out there all night long just because we had to protect all the things that we had inside, which, you go back and look at it again, it's like those are material things, they could be replaced.
Right.
But, we didn't think of it in that notion. However, the conversations that we had from that opportunity to be down there all night talking to people who may or may not have been a part of the looting, but part of the protest as well, it really changed a lot for us. We were able to talk about being a black-owned business, and people were like, in downtown Atlanta, what do you do?
Perfect opportunity.
What's tourism? What are you showing people? Why do they want to see these things? And these are young people who just never been exposed to what's in their backyard.
Wow.
Not knowing the beauty of Atlanta, the history of the civil rights outside of just Dr. King. So it really allowed us an opportunity to sit back and focus on, now we're going to get this paid tourist that comes in, but how can we now connect back to the community at large? How can we do more outreaches with elementary schools, middle schools, the colleges that are here in the city, and really show them why Atlanta is great, so that they have a sense of pride when they leave from Atlanta and go to these other cities. So, financially, we're just starting to kind of get back into the swing of things. So really just looking forward to 21.
Well, let's take a look back at it now, because I don't want to let it, I got to place some emphasis on this, because this is a huge moment. I want all of our listeners to really connect in on this, and our viewers. But could you can go ahead and say what was going on that caused the looting and the rioting and the things of that sort around that time?
So we had the killings that took place, and so we had peaceful protests that were here in the city, and well intended. What we were out there marching for, what was going on, that is the message that needed to be relayed. So we had a lot of great things going on, and in a city where civil rights began, it was right for Atlanta to be on the map, kind of leading that charge. But unfortunately, as the night grew on, there were just individuals not from Atlanta that were here in the city at that time, and they just took upon themselves to make an impact in a negative way, and no cares about who it was, where they were, and it was crazy, bro. Just seeing people come out of hotels in their bathrobes just to go inside somewhere to take something for free and then walk back out, but just not realizing the person that they're impacting that owns that store, the workers that now don't have a place to come back and work at, the salaries that they are now not able to bring back to their families, their kids, like just a rippling effect all the way down the line. So starts from a great intent, but you still have some other things that kind of happen on the outside of that. So you have to deal with that.
Right.
And as a black male in that struggle, it's just something that we internally dealt with.
Oh yeah.
Still continue to deal with today.
Oh yeah. And as that's happening, let's jump to that picture. Black-owned business, you have that happening. Did you take it personal when it hit your organization? Is there anything internal within you that felt it was a little personal? So not as a random act, but did it hit you from a personal perspective that,
Yes.
it upset you that way?
It did. There's no way that it's a business, but to your point, it's your baby. It was all personal. Again, as you look at other business owners what did I do to have this happen to my business?
Here we go.
We're out here on the front line And really for us, I think it's different because as a tour company, we control our narrative. We are telling people our story here in the city. So now to have someone come in and kind of jeopardize our ability to continue to tell our story, it was all personal. The alarms went off the second night. It got even more personal the second night that it happened. So now we're just like, all right, what can we do? So we just had to shut down.
Wow.
And this was the first week after COVID and everything else. We get to open up our doors right before Memorial Day, and then within a week we're closed back down for this situation. So, our families are hit, we're personally hit, our employees are hit, their families are hit, so it was all personal.
Stephen, tell me, you're in a space, and the passion you have for this, it literally sitting with you, it jumps out, okay? When you're looking at the amount of people who actually understand the history associated with it and the benefits surrounding around your organization, could you give us a little bit of insight? Give us some insight into what you feel the benefits are to, your organization.
So we are an extension of the city of Atlanta. I say we are the ambassadors of the city. So if you visit a new place and you need to know what's going on, what to do, where to go, where to eat, that is what we do for Atlanta. We actually have people who come just to take our tour. So that feeling of now we have somebody in the hotel spending money, they're spending money at the cafe. They're going to take our tour and go to an attraction. They're going to go to see the first black millionaire of Atlanta's home that they didn't even know about, but they found out on our tour. And they're going to experience these great things about Atlanta. But hopefully, anecdotally, they'll take that and go back home and have some appreciation for where they're from a little bit more, because they may not have ever been a tourist in their own city.
Wow.
So not just stays in Atlanta, that experience transfers to back home with them. And on their next trip, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to look for a tour in a new city, and it just becomes second nature. You get to do tours, and that exposure. Now your kids are traveling with you, learning that this is what you can do in new cities. Their minds are now open and expanded. They may decide, hey, I want to go into tourism later on in life, and now there's an opportunity to go to college and look at not just hotels, but looking at telling the stories of the cities and all the things that those cities have done.
Come on, man.
So it's multifaceted. It's like the arms of the octopus. It's kind of centered here, but it just reaches in everything from history, culture, architecture. It's just a really great space.
I think it's safe to say an individual, regardless of your culture, your color, but when an individual has a solid understanding of their background or their history, I think it's safe to say that it kind of makes you a more whole of an individual, of yourself. When you describe the tours, how exactly are the tours, like what type of vehicle are the tours performed on?
Okay. So our tagline, we're the best first thing to do in Atlanta. So that's why you come to us first. But when we initially started, we started with, we call them cruisers, but they're electric golf carts.
Okay.
So it's a more intimate feel. It's not a big trolley, big bus that you see in most of the major cities. So we wanted this to be a personal experience. We want you to be the cousin that you haven't seen in so long. We're reconnecting. Let me show you what's going on. That expanded into Segway tours, which expanded into electric bike and regular bike tours, which now recently we've expanded into the trolley experience. So big trolleys that you see in every major market, we're now providing that service here in Atlanta for tourism. And we also have a component that's charter-based, where weddings, they want to have that once in a lifetime opportunity. They get to show up in style on a nice all-white pristine trolley. So we have all those kind of different business units.
So when you take a look back at everything that you've experienced to date, you're here to smile, you're here to provide the information, but that does not mean you still don't have ups and downs. What's some advice that you would give to some potential viewers who are looking to be on that entrepreneurship type tip, who are interested in just getting into a business, period? Is there any advice that you could provide for them? based on you?
Someone told me that never be afraid of failure, because failure is only in the context of what the value is or what you're seeking. I would always tell people, if there's a dream, there's a passion, something that keeps you up late at night, go for it. Because in all of that, you're now present. And again, I'm always about being present in the moment.
Right.
Nothing is happening in the past. Nothing is happening in the future. It's happening now.
Right.
So if you're present and you have that passion and you're not afraid of failure, then regardless of the outcome,
right.
if you take those steps, then you're going to be well fulfilled and more happy with yourself internally. By taking those steps and being in that moment and kind of going after your dreams.
Now, see, I work in the mental health field. There's a level of self-care that I preach all the time. And just looking back and just thinking back, just putting this picture out there, was there ever a moment you felt like quitting? Did you ever, the thought, the feeling, did you ever feel like, okay, maybe this not the direction I shouldn't have took this chance, like, man, this may not be it for me?
There were. And it's funny because at that time we were doing extremely well. If you look at reviews, if you look at public perception, everything was great. But again, with it being a baby, there's more to it than just the business.
Thank you.
So that self-care was necessary. My wife was telling me that I was not present at home in certain areas, and we actually sat and decided to get a counselor and therapist. Awesome. And being able to have a communication channel through him really allowed me to realize what I was going through that was affecting my ability to be a great co-owner in the business, a partner at home. So there were opportunities, and there's continues to be. We have those ups and downs and those trials and tribulations, but still being able to level set by having that opportunity to communicate that and having a safe space to communicate that has been game-changing for us.
I need my viewers to understand that Stephen here just basically said, hey, yes, there's still your moments to have those ups and downs. But one of the key elements that you said, you pointed out really was communication. And not just communication, but between y'all two, y'all allowed a safe space to be able to communicate. Because sometimes if you don't feel comfortable, that you can really express how you feel, I mean, you're really holding a lot of things inside, and that develops into stress in itself.
It is.
It
is. And unfortunately, I think as black men in our community, it's not really seen as a masculine thing to talk about those things.
There you go.
But now, if I start reaching out to Lion Brothers, friends in my network, we're all going through the same thing. Yeah. And we've created small pods to be able to have these great conversations just kind of off, not the big groups, but our small pods.
Right.
And it's just amazing what we are able to come out of those with.
A small pod, you're able to get that much assistance out of a small pod? What? 3
to 4 people, everybody having an opportunity to kind of share, and then you start to realize, we're going through that same thing. I just had the same conversation with my wife. My kids are doing this as well. I mean, it's a lot.
It is.
And self-care, you go to the doctor, you go to the dentist, you go to all these other people, so you need to make sure that mentally you get that care as well. So
Jewel alert. Look, this is a point where I'd like to provide some encouragement for free. No matter what we've talked about, it could be a creed that's something that you've lived by, or something that you were told. Some people, it's a scripture. But what is someone right now is on the verge of, do I continue to pursue this thing that I have a passion for, that may be a business opportunity, anything of that sort in their life? Or do I just try to go a different direction and just kind of give up on that? What is some encouragement for free, no matter what it is, that you can provide right now to our listeners?
You're not in it alone. There are people who are going through it right now. There are people who have gone through it in the past and that will continue to go through it in the future. Be an open vessel. Share your dreams with people. with you holding things inside, no one knows how they can help you and assist you. When we say it takes a village, it takes a village. But that village has to communicate in order to move the village forward. So I always say, it's great to have the ideas, it's great to have the dreams, but sharing those dreams with people who are around you, who have your best interests at heart, those are the things that will help propel you. And it helped propel us when we first started, and it continues to be there for us. And for me, that was everything. Not trying to kind of be a one-man show, but using my business partner and using the individuals around me. So.
Now, what stood out is you said sharing your dreams with people who have your best interests. Could you please expound on that a little more?
Not everybody has your best interest at heart.
Thank you. Thank you.
You probably know who these people are.
Right. Right.
But when you keep that circle tight, and if you're around people who are doing things that they're passionate about, it may not even be in your same industry, but they're on the path of trying to better themselves. They're goal focused, they're goal oriented. You see them. I'm big on energy. My dad's a minister, so religion was big, but I'm big in spirituality. So when you have that energy around you, there's no way that it's not going to flow through you. If you're giving out positive energy and everybody else is doing it the same way, something's going to happen.
Come on, man.
Something's going to happen.
I started just sling my little cue cards here, man. That's called a jewel alert. That's when gems are dropped that we need to really zone in and focus on. But seriously, y'all, understand that, take that. Stephen, I really, 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 really appreciate you coming here on the show. Is there any way that people can follow you? Is there a way to go to the organization, the business, websites?
Of course. So you can follow us at ATL Cruisers, and we had to spell it a little different. So it's ATLCRUZERS.com. ATLCruisers.com. That will get you connected to all the different things that we have to offer.
I want to take aside something real quick. Morehouse College. First thing that stands out that comes to mind that you gathered and you still can use it to this day from that HBCU. What is it?
I went to a college where everything of excellence was done by black men. Everyone around me was a black male. There was nothing that was going to separate us other than our ability to execute, deliver, and I took that without letting that be the crutch that I hear in so many other arenas. I'm a black male. I couldn't get this, that, and the other. I had to matriculate in an environment where no one cared about black men from that standpoint because we all were black men. We had to set ourselves outside of one another, but at the same time, be your brother's keeper. Have your brother's back and kind of move together. So as we reach and climb and reach together, we're taking our community with us. So just having that impact and that influence of all black men around me, there's no other place like it.
Stephen, we're going to hear from you again. And yes, in some form or fashion, he is a part of the Triumphant Moments with T. Wood family, so you will hear or see from him again, I assure you. In fact, I'd like to see if you can still show a little tour maybe before I leave out of here in Atlanta, okay? Sometimes in life, you must fail in order to succeed. But one thing must remain certain, that you never, ever, ever give up. It's Triumphant Moments with T. Wood.